Hi everyone, it's Read Across Jamaica Day today, and I'm going to be reading this story, Teammates, and it's a Jackie Robinson story by Peter Golenbach actually. So it's it's not a fairy tale, but it's a feel-good story, and let's get right at it. So once upon a time in America, when automobiles were black and looked like tanks, and laundry was white and hung on clothesline to dry, and there were two wonderful baseball leagues that no longer exist. They were called the Negro Leagues. All right, so this was a picture of, you know, back in the days in America or that particular state. Now, the Negro League had extraordinary players, and adoring fans came to see them whenever they played. They were heroes, but players in the Negro Leagues didn't make much money, and their lives on the road were hard. Laws against segregation didn't exist in the 1940s. In many places in this country, black people were not allowed to go to the same schools and churches as white people. They couldn't sit in the front of a bus or trolley. They couldn't drink from the same drinking fountains that white people drank from. Wow. Wow, let's have a look at some of those visuals. These are the Black Negro League. These are some of the players. And this, picture of the fountain, the water fountain, that they couldn't drink the same from. Back then, many hotels didn't rent rooms to black people. So the Negro League players slept in their cars. Wow. Many towns had no restaurants that would serve them, so they often had to have meals that they could buy and carry with them. Life was very different for players in the major leagues. They were the leagues for white players. Compared to the Negro League players, white players were very well paid. They stayed in good hotels and ate in fine restaurants. Their pictures were put on baseball cards, and the best players became famous all over the world. Here we have a look at them. Some of these were the players back in the days, the white ones that did well. Many Americans knew the racial prejudice was wrong. They knew that it was wrong, but few dared to challenge openly the way things were. And many people were apathetic, that's a new word for some of us, about racial problems. Some feared that it could be dangerous to object. Vigilante groups like the Ku Klux Klan reacted violently against those who tried to change the way blacks were treated. And these are some of the news clippings of the day. Here we go, news clippings of the day. Here we go. Now, the general manager of the Brooklyn Dodgers baseball team was a man by the name of Branch Rickey. This is Branch Rickey. There we go. Right. He was not afraid of change. He wanted to treat the Dodgers fans to the best players he could find, regardless of color of skin. He thought segregation was unfair and wanted to give everyone, regardless of race or creed, an opportunity to compete equally on ball fields across America. To this, the Dodgers needed one special man. Branch Rickey launched a search for him. He was looking for a star player in the Negro Leagues who would be able to compete successfully despite threats to his life or attempts to injure him. He would have to possess the self-control not to fight back when opposing players tried to intimidate or hurt him. If this man disgraced himself on the field, Ricky knew his opponents would use it as an excuse to keep blacks out of the major leagues baseball for many more years. Ricky thought Jackie Robinson might just be the man. This is a picture of Jackie Robinson. Right. There you go. Here they go. Here they are. This is wonderful. Jackie rode the train to Brooklyn to meet Ricky. That's Mr. Ricky. When Mr. Ricky told him, I want a man with the courage not to fight back, Jackie Robinson replied, if you take this gamble, I will do my best to perform. They shook hands. Branch Rickey and Jackie Robinson were starting on what would be known in history as the Great Experiment. At spring, with the Dodgers, Jackie was mobbed by blacks young and old as if he were a savior. He was the first black player to try out for a major league team. If he succeeded, they knew others would follow. All right, here we go. Initially, life with the Dodgers was for Jackie a series of humiliations. The players on his team who came from the South, men who had been taught to avoid black people since childhood, moved to another table whenever he sat down next to them. Many opposing players were cruel to him, calling him nasty names from their dugout. A few tried to hurt him with their spiked shoes. Pitchers aimed at his head, and he received threats on his life both from individuals and from organizations like the Ku Klux Klan. This was a picture of what the baseball team was like. It's wonderful what has happened since. Despite all the difficulties, Jackie Robinson didn't give up. He made the Brooklyn Dodgers team. Can you pick him out? Can you pick out Jackie Robinson from this picture? Can you find him? Ah, kind of easy to, quite easy to spot, right? Very nice. This is him having made the team and moving right along. You know, I have a picture of him in this book. Nice looking fellow, wouldn't you say? But making the Dodgers was only the beginning. Jackie had to face abuse and hostility through the season from April through September. His worst pain was inside. Often he felt very alone. On the road, he had to live by himself because only the white players were allowed in the hotels in towns where the teams played. The whole time, Pee Wee Reese, the Dodgers shortstop, was growing up in Louisville, Kentucky. My apologies. He had rarely even seen a black person unless it was in the back of a bus. But most of his friends and relatives hated the idea of him playing on the same field as a black man. In addition, Pee Wee Reese had more to lose than the other players when Jackie joined the team. Jackie had been a shortstop, and everyone thought that Jackie would take Pee Wee's job. Lesser men might have felt anger towards Jackie, but Pee Wee was different. He told himself, if he's good enough to take my job, he deserves it. It's a really good attitude, don't you think? I think so too. It's a picture with Pee Wee and Jackie and some other teammates on their team. When his southern teammates circulated a petition to throw Jackie off the team and asked him to sign it, Pee Wee responded, I don't care if this man is black, blue, or striped, and refused to sign. He can play and he can help us win, he told the others. That's what counts. This was the petition. And this is a picture of a baseball game back in the day. This was a real picture of a real event back in the day. Very early in the season, the Dodgers traveled to Ohio to play the Cincinnati Reds. Cincinnati was near Pee Wee's hometown of Louisville. The Reds played in a small ballpark where the fans sat close to the field, and the players could almost feel the breath of the fans on the back of their necks. Many who came that day screamed terrible, hateful things at Jackie when the Dodgers were on the field. More than anything else, Pee Wee Reese believed in doing what was right. When he heard the fans yelling at Jackie, Pee Wee decided to take a stand. Here were the fans yelling, 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 yelling. Not nice, not nice, not nice at all. With his head held high, Pee Wee walked directly to the shortstop position to where Jackie was playing his first base. The taunts and shouting of the fans were ringing in Pee Wee's ears. It saddened him because he knew it could have been his friends and neighbors. Pee Wee's legs felt heavy, but he knew what he had to do. As he walked towards Jackie wearing the gray Dodger uniform, he looked into his teammates' bold, pained eyes. The first baseman had done nothing to provoke the hostility except that he sought to be treated as an equal. Jackie was grim with anger. Pee Wee smiled broadly as he reached Jackie, and Jackie smiled back. This was a picture, drawing of the game. Well, let's see. How do you think this is going to end? That's, a nice little discussion we could have. But in the interest of time, ta-da! Stopping beside Jackie, Pee Wee put his arm around Jackie's shoulder. An audible gasp rose up from the crowd when they saw what Pee Wee had done. Then there was silence. On a sea of green grass stood these two great athletes, one black, one white, both wearing the same team uniform. I am standing by him. My apologies. This is what Pee Wee said. I am standing by him, he told the world. This man is my teammate. So it wasn't such a happy story, but it had a great ending. Thank you for listening, and I hope you'll come back for another session of story time. I will be doing some more of these, and I hope you will want to hear what I have to read to you all. Thank you so much, everybody.